Another college football show for Under Further Review is back. We have Kevin, we got Mike, we got Steve here, and we'll jump right into it. We're going to talk about the game. This is the most intense week of the year for myself. As you see, I have my Michigan versus everybody sweatshirt from several seasons ago when people tried to ruin their championship season by bringing up the scandal, the sign stealing scandal. But that's behind us now. Now we're looking into the future, looking ahead to Saturday, and it's a big one. Like, I don't know, like after last season, people thought that this game would have playoff implications, especially when like Michigan, of course, they had the great recruiting class. They bring in their prized possession and their freshman quarterback Bryce Underwood, hoping that he would develop faster than most other freshman quarterback just because of the talent that everybody said he had, and a lot of people were saying he was one of the better recruits they've seen in a long time. And then, you bring in a guy like Justice Haynes, you hope that he works out, and he did. And, they have a strong defense, which Stromore and Wink Martindale have said has so much depth to it. Their defensive line can go 8-9 deep. Their linebackers, the same thing. They can shuffle guys in and out. Their secondary, they've been playing freshmen back there. It's just what the season has turned into. We knew what Ohio State was going to be. We knew that they brought back the 2-star receivers in Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. I think we knew that this defense was going to be a monster this season. Weren't too sure what their quarterback was going to be in saying, but he proved it right from the start. I know that the box score from week 1 says 14-7 against Texas, but just the way that he controlled the tempo of the game, it was like a veteran presence out there against a top 25 team in Texas. Actually, they were number 1 at the time. And ever since then, just the games where he's had over 80% completion rating is just unheard of throughout the whole season. But some factors are going to, spill into this game. It's, can Ryan Day, is he going to be able to control the line of scrimmage? And is he going to let that get to his head? Is that going to be an ego thing? Because we know what happened last year. He thought that they needed to run the ball in order to win the game, when they had 3 receivers that were all probably potential first-round receivers. We already seen it in Egbuka. We're going to see it in Carnell Tate this year. Jeremiah Smith's next, and he's probably going to be a top 5 guy even, the way he's trending. So he's really going to need to open it up and go through the air. But the other thing is, this reminds me of the first year when Aiden Hutchinson was there and Michigan first beat Ohio State for it was the first time in a long time. That was a cold and snowy day. And they're predicting Ann Arbor to be 30 degrees on Saturday, and they're predicting, I think it was 80% chance of snow. So is Ohio State going to come in, and are they going to be able to play with the conditions? Because if it's snowing, you might take away that aerial attack. I don't know how bad it's going to be, but that could be a factor. And I know a lot of Michigan fans are banking on it. I know you guys, you watch college football as a whole, but you're both Big Ten fans. I know, like, Mike, unfortunately, you're a Rutgers fan. Kevin, you're an Oregon fan. But as fans of teams in the Big Ten, you keep an eye on everyone throughout the Big Ten. What is your perspective on this game, especially this year, and like what it means to both sides?
So this is, I think this game goes further than college football. We've talked about it at length. I think this is the premier rivalry in sports at this point. We have discussions or had discussions in the past about, is it Yankees, Red Sox, Giants, Cowboys. It's this. This is the game that people want to see. It's still hot. It's heavy. A lot of the other stuff has cooled down with most of your other rivalries. This game is heated. Yeah, no. To me, this is the rivalry game. Obviously, being a Rutgers fan, we've got manufactured rivalry with Maryland that just doesn't do it for me. It's not real. So I do look forward to this game. I think this one you could throw the records out as well. A lot of people are going to look at it as Ohio State being the number 1 team in the country, and Michigan, where they stand right now, I think they're at 18. Is that either
15?
The new one had
15
a little bit. Yeah, 15.
15.
You can get rid of all that. Is what it doesn't make a difference. These two teams don't like each other. They've proven it every single year. I'm sure that we're going to get a lot of antics this year as well. Yeah, no, this is the premier rivalry. This is the one you want to watch. If you have never watched a game of football before, and you want to watch something to get you into the sport, this would be the game that I would direct you to watch.
Yeah, I mean, being an Oregon fan, freshly kind of into the Big Ten, I mean, I used to love just watching Big Ten football anyway, because it's usually either the SEC or the Big Ten as the 2 big conferences. And
not the Big 12?
Don't tell Texas.
No, not the Big 12. But yeah, Ohio State, Michigan, probably easily the best rivalry in any sports right now. And then you kick in the weather. I feel like it's going to be easily a very close game just because, I mean, going into what, 100,000 fans is a.
Over. It's the biggest stadium.
Yeah.
Over
So
110.
you're going into very crazy area. Yeah, records don't matter at that point.
That stadium will be mostly Michigan too, because whenever it's a home game for one of these two teams, you see mostly that home color in the stadiums. It's going to be a home environment for Michigan. I know that's weird to say because Michigan is the home team, but like you never know with these rival games. There will be a fair share of Ohio State fans. They will travel, but it's going to be I would guess probably over 75% Michigan fans.
You would hope.
Yeah, you would hope for a home game. There's a few things that I want to talk about. Both sides have their fair share of injuries right now. Justice Haynes on Fox 5's broadcast, Fox Big Noon Kickoff, they said he was out for the season. I did see, like, those bogus accounts on Twitter or X that say, oh, there's a chance that Haynes might play, but it hasn't come from Sharon Moore's mouth, so I'm not going to believe it until I see him suited up. But it could be like a Blake Corum thing from a few years ago when Donovan Edwards went off for a huge game and they tried to make Blake Corum play, or didn't try to make him. He wanted to play the game and he was out after the first drive and they had to rely heavily on Edwards, excuse me. But Michigan has a few injuries that like were worrisome. Like Ernest Hausman didn't play this past weekend. He's a stud linebacker and he already wrote, I didn't go anywhere on Twitter, and it seems like he's going to be back. Max Bredeson, who is my favorite player or one of my favorite Michigan players of all time. He's the fullback, if you guys don't know who he is. Just an absolute beast. Every Michigan fan absolutely adores him just because of the hard-nosed type playing he brings to every game. Honestly, I actually asked for his jersey for Christmas this year. Freaking old man over here asking for a college kid's jersey, but that's how much I appreciate the style of play that Max Bredeson brings every week. So there's a video of him getting his foot stepped on, and Sharon Moore said the x-rays didn't look great. And also Samaj Morgan was out last week, but he should be back. So, Michigan has a little bit of the injury bug. The other side, though, Ohio State, and they haven't been too clear about the status of their wide receivers, but Carnell Tate's been out for several weeks now, and Jeremiah Smith just missed the Rutgers game, and he was out for the second half of the UCLA game. And I don't know if they're being 100% truthful about the injury because there's been reports that Carnell Tate has a sore Achilles, and you don't want to mess around with the Achilles, especially when your draft status is a first-round pick, and some people have you in the top 10. There's no chance. You already got your national title. I mean, these players want their gold pants really bad. They want to beat Michigan, and Carnell Tate's never done it, so who knows? Maybe he suits up, but if it's an Achilles injury, like some of the reports have been online, then I don't know. Like, this is coming from like an unbiased place. I don't really think you should try it out, And for Jeremiah Smith, some of the reports been a stiff lower back. The other reports have been the hamstring. Regardless, you've seen videos of him limping around on the sideline, and I don't know if that's an act. I don't know if Ohio State's trying to play mind games, but right now the status is they're in rehab protocol. They're trying to get ready for Saturday, so we will see. If both of them do play, and somebody brought up a great point this past weekend, they didn't really try to utilize their young receivers this past weekend against Rutgers. They used a lot of Max Clare, who is the tight end, and he's a very good tight end. But if they were preparing for life without Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, you would think that they would try to get on track with their young receivers a little more. I know Ennis got a few targets, but other than that, it wasn't really. It was thrown to the tight end and the running backs throughout the game. Going back to what I was saying, and this will be my last thought, I'll kick it back to you guys. If both receivers do suit up this weekend and they try to play, just the fact that Michigan does rotate a lot of guys in, and their secondary is probably the weakness of this team. So I love the defensive line. It's 8 or 9 deep. Like you are going to see like a rotation that they're confident with the entire game. I really love the linebacker crew. Jimmy Rolder, Cole Sullivan, Jay-Sean Barham, who has shot up draft boards, Ernest Hausman. I think all 4 of those guys will eventually find their way onto NFL rosters. and all 4 are going to be healthy for this weekend. Love the front 7 for this team. But once you start getting into the secondary, like Jair Hill, a lot of people are saying he could be, if he plays his absolute best football this season, they said he could have been a day 2, day 3 guy. I don't know if he played his absolute best, but he's been their best. He's been the shutdown corner for this team. And then it goes into like a rotation type thing. You have Mason Curtis, who they were high on after the bowl game against Alabama last year. Brendan Hillman, who's just a hit stick waiting to happen. Jaden Sanders, who's a freshman. TJ Metcalf, who transferred in from Arkansas, I believe. And then it's, Elijah Dotson gets some playing time. Jaden Mangham, who was the transfer before last season, came over from Michigan State, actually, which is a huge deal because that's the rivals, in-state rivals. Rod Moore's out this weekend, by the way. And 2 years ago, he's the one who sealed the deal with the interception and kept Michigan as a playoff and eventual national champ hopeful. But, with that rotation in mind and with knowing that that's the weakness on this side and knowing that Ohio State's, might have learned their lesson from last season where they got shut down and that Michigan was way more physical, could be a little worrisome for Michigan. Especially if, they come into the game and we don't have those snowy conditions and they can pass whenever they please. And we saw it at times this past weekend. I know the temps were high. There was a lot of incompletions, but there were times when Maryland had some big plays through the air. And it's been the whole season. That's been, to me, the glaring weakness has been the pass defense. Michigan has, I have the stats somewhere, I think they're the 17th best defense in the nation. And they have a top 10 rush defense. But that's going to be irrelevant if they have to face this aerial attack. 15th scoring defense in the nation. They're giving up 17.9 points per game. They're 17th total defense, 302 yards per game. And actually not top 10 in rush defense. They're 11th nationally. They give up 94 rushing yards a game. So really good defense, but you're also facing a guy in Julian Sayin who's just a beast. Everybody's high on him. If he continues at this pace, he's the number 1 pick next year. So, there's a lot of what ifs this year. And I think the biggest what if is, if Ryan Day learned his lesson, if he comes in and just tries to hang 100 points on this team,
Yeah, I think in regards to this game, I think it's going to come down to can Michigan find a way to slow this passing attack down. It does seem like, just looking here, it seems likely that Jeremiah Smith will play, but it does not. I haven't seen anything that sounded optimistic about Carnell Tate. But even having, obviously, Jeremiah Smith out there with Julian Sayin, I mean, that's a 1-2. That's a haymaker every time. I think that if Michigan can find a way to slow down the aerial attack, or even if the conditions play to their favor, I admittedly didn't look at the weather. Obviously, Steve follows it a lot more than we do. Yeah, it would be in Michigan's best interest to make this a dogfight, because that Ohio State's they're gonna stack the box. They got guys like Sonny Styles. You got Arvell Reese, the defensive lineman. I'm missing his name right now.
In the box too.
Yep, Caleb Downs, Kenyatta. I mean, they're gonna. Yep, this is gonna be a tough game for Michigan to ground it out like they have most of the season, in my opinion. But you throw snow in there, and people can't get footing, can't do certain things, makes it tougher. But they're going to test Bryce Underwood. I think this game is going to come down to, if Michigan wins this game, Bryce Underwood will have played one of the better games, if not the best game he's played to date. But because of the tenacity of this rivalry, I 100% could see that. That's the other thing, the adrenaline that's going to come from this game. We're going to see, in theory, we should see some guys play up well above what they normally do, and I think we can see that. But a lot of it's going to come down to, can you slow down Ohio State's passing attack? And even then, let's not, Bo Jackson's no slouch as a running back either.
Not against Rutgers, he's no slouch.
Yeah, he's a good running back, I think. But again, if it's a dogfight, Michigan has a chance and a good chance. But if they can't slow down, Jeremiah Smith, if he plays, or Julian Sayin in general, I do not, and I think most would agree, I do not think Michigan has the firepower to keep up in a back and forth game.
No.
But like I said, it's weird because, like, if you would have asked me last year, did Michigan have a chance against Ohio State? I think most of us would have said no. And they came out and put it on them, right? And also the understanding of what the implications for this game means. Removing the rivalry aspect of it, Michigan wins, and I have to assume they're probably in for the playoff. This would be a huge win. And if Ohio State loses, I don't think they'll tumble very far, but I think they come out of that top 4. And So this game has some deep implications on that too. So yeah, I think there's some juice there. I think we'll hold off on making picks for right now, but Michigan makes this a dogfight. Michigan has a chance. Ohio State's allowed to do what Ohio State does. Saban's allowed to sit back there and pass and throw all day. Throw for 70% or above. It's going to be a really, really rough day. And think about last year's atmosphere. I 100% could see Ryan Day treating this like it's his national championship. And I could see him, one, there's going to be hostilities. After the game, I can guarantee you we're going to see what similar situation to last year. But I wouldn't be shocked if this gets out of hand. It gets really out of hand quick.
There's still people who are saying if Ryan Day can't beat Michigan this year, then even after the national championship, they're going to start questioning him as a head coach because this game means so much. I guarantee you go around to ask some of those Ohio State fans, some of them are going to say like the Michigan game's more important to them at this point after they've lost 4 straight than that national championship this year. It's just the way this rivalry's been. But I got a few stats for you. I don't think it's going to be a 13-10 game this year. I think Michigan's going to have to put up at least 20 plus in order to win this game. And while Bryce Underwood had his best game of the season last week against Maryland, and I like to see like growth throughout the season. So let's talk about growth. That offensive line that in the spring game, everybody was like, oh my God, that's going to be such a weakness for Michigan this year, is actually, I think they finished in the top 10 for vote. They're up for, the top offensive line unit. I forget what that award is this year. And that's with 3 redshirt freshmen starting on that offensive line, which is just crazy to think about because they're going to have those guys for the next, potentially 3 to 4 years. And that's going to be protecting Bryce Underwood. They have Jordan Marshall back. There's potential that Justice Haynes comes back next year. That there's some rumblings that he's not a lock to leave for the NFL draft, especially after this injury at the end of the season. We could have another like Blake Corum type thing where he comes back for his senior year because he had an injury. But you're talking about, like, Mike, you made up a great point, like that time of possession, controlling the trenches. Michigan has 12 100-yard rushing efforts this season. Justice Haynes has 6 of them. Jordan Marshall, who picked up the slack after Haynes, and I thought Marshall should have received carries all season, and they were a little slow with giving him some momentum the first few weeks, but really happy because that's the type of guy who falls forward. He never is somebody you knock backwards. So Jordan Marshall has 4 of them. Bryson Cudsdell, who just had 100 on the dot, I guess, against Maryland, and 3 touchdowns. And then Bryce Underwood has 1. 3 running backs have scored 3 touchdowns in one game, and I just talked about Bryson Cudsdell. Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall both have 3 touchdown games. So I get that, like Sherrone Moore, you're paying, Bryce Underwood, what, like 12, 13 million? Like, you're giving him all this money, and I get you want to develop him and you want to give him the passes. But there's been points this season where, like, they passed when they really didn't need to. And I think it was I don't know if it was an RPO where Underwood just read it wrong or something, or they just want to give him the confidence. But this is a game where, like, that just goes out the window. Like, I don't care about Underwood's continued progression. I care about the win. So if you want that win, you're going to give it to the person who has the hot hand. And for the sake of Michigan versus Ohio State, you have to be the physical guy. So that means, Jordan Marshall's back this week. Jordan Marshall should have 25, 30 attempts on the ground. And then you also give Bryson Cudsdell some carries, and you just pound the rock the entire game. And you hope Max Bredeson's back there, even with the bad foot, because then he can go head to head against Arvell Reese. And you just hope that we can Michigan can out physical Ohio State. That's what it's going to come down to. Like, you got to keep the ball out of Saban's hands. We know what Saban can do. He can drive down the field. It doesn't matter where he starts. If he starts on the 10-yard line, I still think he's going to put points on the board. That's just the type of quarterback he is. He's poised, he's confident, and he's just incredibly accurate. Like, just makes great decision after great decision. And if you're going to play that game where you're going to go 3 and out, or, you're not going to move the ball past the 50 and you're losing the line of scrimmage game or the field position game, you're going to lose this game. So Michigan, if anything, Sherrone Moore, the reason you became the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines is because you were offensive coordinator that ran the ball. Let's not forget the Penn State game, the year they won the championship. How many straight plays did they run the ball in the second half? What was it, like 20 straight plays or something? I forget the exact number. But it was just crazy what they did in that game. Do what you do do what the Michigan brand of football is. The reason that you won 4 straight games is not because you were this aerial attack. You did not depend on J.J. McCarthy in those games. You certainly did not depend on the quarterback play last season. It's all been defense and running. So continue to do that, Michigan. And Ohio State, you got to switch things up. Ryan Day, my guy, you got to pass the ball. Those are the 2 keys to the game for myself.
Ohio State's wide receiver, you gotta air it out when you got all the receivers to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and when Smith is making like promises that he's never going to lose to Michigan again, like give that guy the ball. He's a hungry. He's like a caged animal right now. Like let him out of his cage. Let him just do what he does. Even if he doesn't have Tate. Like if Jeremiah Smith plays, he's going for probably like 150 receiving yards.
Yeah, when you got a guy like Smith, I mean, it's like I said. I think I said this the first episode we did was that Carnell Tate's not even the best receiver in his room, and he's the number 1 receiver in the country, draft eligible, arguably. That Smith is 100% going to be if he suits up, and it, like I said, the report said it's likely he's going to be the X factor in this game, and I think that could be a problem for Michigan. I don't know if they have the hands to stop him. But again, if it's a snow game, all that's out the window. It just becomes a dogfight and it's a fist fight. Anybody can win. So I'm excited to watch it. I hope it snows because I always like snow football. Anybody who says they don't doesn't like football. This could be a throwback. Yeah, unfortunately, I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, and I don't know if it's going to favor Michigan, but I hope we get a snow game because those games are so incredible. I really do, and especially in this rivalry, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's Michigan versus Ohio State football. Yeah, the end of the year, it's in the final days of November for a reason. You want the cold weather. You want a physical game. Let's move on, though. So we'll give score predictions later. We always do our predictions for some of the biggest games of the week, and that's certainly probably one of the biggest games of the year. A lot of big
ones this week.
Yeah, it's a good schedule. Do we want to talk the Friday games, or do we want to save that for when we do our predictions?
I would save for when we do our picks. We'll just you just run through them. We'll make our selections, and that beats that.
I do want to give an update on the Heisman voting because all season we've been talking about the quarterbacks, and Mendoza's still the leader, but there was somebody who shot up to number 2 this past week, and he only had 8 touches, 171 yards, 3 touchdowns against Syracuse, and yeah, it's 3-win Syracuse. But let me give you some stats on Jeremiah Love this season because right now he's up for the Maxwell and Doak Walker, and he's also top 3 in the Heisman right now. The best stat, in my opinion, and I thought this was really cool, and I'm sure you guys seen this by now, when a year ends in 5, a running back usually wins a Heisman. In fact, since 1935, that's been the case. Derrick Henry in 2015, Reggie Bush in 2005, Eddie George in 1995, Bo Jackson in 1985, Archie Griffin in 1975, and the list goes on. This is probably the biggest jump, I would say. But we just, the way Love's season started, we were like, all right, he's a good running back, but, he's probably not going to be like a Heisman hopeful or anything. He'll do what he did last season, essentially. What did he have, like 1,100 rushing yards?
Yeah.
But Love has now rushed for 100+ yards in 6 games, including 228 against USC. Right now, he has only 100, and we like to talk about Genty last season. Genty did it with receiving probably a majority of the carries for Boise State. Like that you knew they were going to Genty. This Notre Dame team's like so unpredictable because they're going to give Love carries, but CJ Carr could also go off in a game. He didn't do it against Syracuse, but he certainly can.
Didn't have to.
No, he didn't. I'll let Kev talk about the defensive effort. But, 185 carries this year. The dude has 1,306 rushing yards and 17 touchdowns. He also has 26 receptions and 274 yards and 3 touchdowns. And I think there's 12. I can't find the stat, but I believe there's 12 players in the. Yeah, there it is. There's 12 players with over 1,000 rushing yards, and only one of them is averaging 7 yards per carry. It's just truly incredible what this guy's doing this season, and I think he deserves every thought for the Heisman Trophy. And I know, like, we would like to get comfortable. We instantly want to give it to a quarterback. But what he's doing for this Notre Dame team, and you can say, like, not playing the best competition, whatever, but it's still Division I competition, and he's still making them look like a Pop Warner team. So he's really shot up the board. He truly has a chance at it. The only thing you could say is, like, does he really have a Heisman defining moment this season? And that might take it away.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's hard. I feel like it's hard to give it to a running back, especially when the first. I feel like his first 2 weeks weren't the greatest when they lost the 2 games to Miami and A&M. No, they were probably still working out all the kinks in the beginning of the year, but everyone, it's not as a sexiest pick as a quarterback. And if quarterback's winning, they tend to usually slide that way.
It's become a quarterback award for sure.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like he would need to. I mean, they didn't even give it to Genty last year. When how many yards did he have? Like 2,000 something. Oh,
Something crazy.
But Travis Hunter plays 2 positions in the Big 12.
there's the clip. But anyways, I mean, I feel like it's hard when you have 2 quarterbacks who are undefeated. I feel like the Heisman could come down to that game, the Big Ten championship. If Sayin and Mendoza both. I don't know if Indiana's playing this weekend, but if Sayin does beat Michigan and then in the Big Ten championship, it's going to be whoever wins that game could win the Heisman.
You know who
Indiana's playing Purdue.
Purdue,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah. I think what you said was a big point, Steve. Does he have a Heisman moment yet? And you, unfortunately for him, the guys that are, well, the one guy ahead of him, Mendoza, has a few, and Sayin has several. And I think that's the thing that we have to look at is I don't want to say that's going to be a deciding factor, but it's going to be what removes him from the conversation, if that makes sense. Is that, people are going to go back and it's going to be the Mendoza throw, the back of the end zone against Penn State, whether he did it or didn't do it. The throw was there. It's a moment. Sayin's got a litany of them. That's the thing is what's that stand? Even the guys behind him, Pavia has Heisman moments, who I don't think should be a Heisman candidate, but he has Heisman moments. That's the thing that I don't know what that defining moment is for him, but what he's doing statistically this season is incredible. I mean, I think he counted for total touchdowns. I think he's at 20 total. So he's got he's doing it receiving, obviously rushing. Yeah, I think this is the year the 5 thing probably gets broken. But then again, like I said, who knows? Maybe Mendoza has an off week against Purdue and Love against Stanford makes that statement, and all this changes. But yeah, that's the thing that I keep coming back to now that you said it is what's your moment, and I just don't know what that moment is currently. Taking nothing against him though, he's what I think is going to end up being a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. I think he's a very worthy pick. I think he's the best running back in football. But yeah, I don't know if I personally can give him the Heisman Award. But if he did win it, it would be a lot better than Travis Hunter winning it last year, in my opinion. Who I don't think should have won it. I think Love is deserving of it, but it's a quarterback award, and he's got, three really big dogs ahead of him in terms of that kind of play style with quarterbacks, and Pavia, Mendoza, and Sayin.
Yeah, like if he had his Heisman moment, like against A&M or Miami, I feel like it would be a shoo-in for him to win it.
Yep, and he just that was the Miami game. I'm sure that he wants to forget. 100%. Like that game was rough for sure. And then even the A&M game. I mean, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. They lost close games both ways. But those are statement games. Like if he would have came out and ran all over Miami, ran all over A&M, you're right, we're probably not having this conversation now, or we're having a much tighter conversation. I just think that he's deserving to be in the conversation as a top 3, top 4 guy. I think that Sayin and Mendoza are more deserving of the award, but there is quarterback bias, and I'm not exclusive to that. I'm definitely included in that.
Well, don't forget about Jacob Rodriguez. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen, no, I'm gonna give. We got chopped up pretty good this week by the 8 Big 12 fans that are out there, and I do want to say that Jacob Rodriguez, I think, deserves more than what he's getting. Yeah, I do believe that he is a stud. So for Big 12 fans, I will concede that Jacob Rodriguez is a stud. However, when we get into the playoff talk and the seeding and the way it broke down this week, stay tuned.
Yeah, you can't take away what Jacob Rodriguez has done. 7 forced fumbles, 4 interceptions, has 97 tackles so far this year. And Texas Tech has had a very strong defense, and they're blowing teams out by 20-plus points. But also, again, they play in the Big 12. Let's see when they suit up against a Big 10 or SEC team, even though a lot of people wanted to say we're in a new age of football and that those schools aren't the best anymore and blah, 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 whatever. I do want to talk about some Big 12 football because while we're on the running back conversation, LJ Martin has really stapled himself as a premier running back in college football. Maybe even the best, Mike. He just had 222 rush yards, 2 touchdowns the past weekend against Cincinnati. And, you take away LJ Martin from the equation in that game, and they most likely are losing. It's the same thing with Arizona when they went into double overtime. He had 162 rushing yards against number what is Utah ranked for? They're just outside the playoffs. So.
Yeah, they're just outside looking in.
He had 122 rushing yards, and Utah's are always known for great defenses. The only game you can really take away from him is the Texas Tech game. They lost 29-7. BYU is their only loss of the season. He had 10 rushes, 35 yards. I wonder if he got hurt in that game. I didn't watch it, but 10 rushes and 5 against Iowa State the week before, so I don't know what was going on there. But
I'm sure they'll let us know in the comments. Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. But just an incredible season. He's up to 1,134 rushing yards. He's really come on. I know a lot of guys, we talk about McShay all the time. He's high on it.
He's huge on him.
So
McShay thinks he's the best running back in football. And actually went a step further that if he declared this year, thought he'd be a first-round pick. Now, I can't find anything that says he's considering one way or the other, but McShay is huge on him. He's a great football player. I put him in the same conversation as Jacob Rodriguez. He's a guy that deserves more credit than he's getting, 100%. And whether Big 12 fans want to agree, disagree, I think that he doesn't get the recognition that he probably deserves because us East Coast fans, even Midwest fans, probably aren't watching a ton of Big 12 football. We're just not. We've got SEC football, ACC, you've got the Big Ten, that dominates football right there. But he is no slouch. He's an outstanding running back. He's a big running back at that. And I think that he's definitely got a big NFL future, whether it's this season or next season.
I don't even think it's like an East Coast bias because somebody tried to tell me it was East Coast bias. It's not.
I was just trying to be respectful. The Big 12 sucks.
But like, people were like, "Oh, you brought up Georgia Tech, so you must love the ACC." And they kept bringing that up. I was like, nobody ever like vouched for the ACC from us. Like, yeah, Miami's in the playoff right now, but.
Well, the thing is also people didn't realize is that clip admittedly got cut after it had been cut up after Georgia Tech lost. And I did mention that Georgia Tech was a team that I thought would be exciting in the playoff. So that was on, that got cut late. So anybody that's watching this, it's not a Georgia Tech bias. It's nothing to do with that. We're an ACC bias. None of us are ACC fans, admittedly. Nobody here is beating down the door to watch ACC games. It's just it's a closer quality game to the Big Ten and SEC, in my opinion.
It's more like this. Show me you can do it. Yes, somebody brought up Utah in the Rose Bowl a few years ago, stuck around with Ohio State. Yes, Cam Rising had a fantastic game, but I'm not a big one-off person. I remember somebody came at me in the comments and tried to say 3/4 of Texas's out-of-conference schedule, but left out the fact that they played Ohio State. And I'm like, all right, now we're being selective. Let's just call a spade a spade. The SEC, the Big Ten has won the past 2 championships. How many championships over the past 20 years? I counted 8 that Alabama and Georgia won. It's been SEC, Ohio State, Michigan with the one-off. Occasionally Clemson has won. But, you haven't seen Big 12 teams since Texas.
You haven't since 2005. It has been 20 years since they've won a national title. And back then, I'll tell you what, in the early 2000s, Big 12 football was great. I'll be that was quality football. And I think we'd all agree. But times change. Look at the way that everything's been redrawn and everything's changed. It's just the game is different. And I understand that the NIL comments, and I get that. Any school can go out and buy any player. But I'm sorry, if you stack those schools against, let's just use Texas Tech because that's the one this year, right? They're not going to out-recruit Texas. They're not going to out-recruit Texas A&M in their own state. They're just not, and those are hotbeds. And listen, it's a great story. They're 5th this year. As of this week, they're 5th. But they're going to get a cupcake game, it looks like, week 1, and then they're going to get tested by Georgia. And not to be rude or anything, but I remember a Big 12 team playing Georgia in a college football championship. I'm a little hazy, but I think it would. I don't remember it being very close. I actually don't even remember it looking like the team deserved to be on the field.
It was 15-13.
It was over. I fell asleep after the second quarter. It didn't matter. The game was done. It was cooked. And that's what you get. And I'm sorry. They need to do something about it, and they need to prove it. You don't just deserve because, times have changed. They haven't changed. You've had, actually, to go a step further, I'm looking at it here. Texas was the last Big 12 school to win a championship. Before that, I couldn't even tell you.
Oklahoma was
I
always
was
in
about to
the
say
thick of
Texas or
things,
Oklahoma.
but
Oklahoma in 2000, I think,
yeah.
was the last previous to that. Maybe, I think. Yeah.
And it's not even like this isn't a new age of football. Like Arizona State was very good last year. They had Camp Scadaboo. They're about to lose their star quarterback during the offseason. And Tyson's probably
To
going
a
to go
Big
to
Ten or
yeah.
SEC school.
Yes.
He's going to a Big Ten or an SEC school. I bet it.
It's not a new age of football. Like Tech might be good this year, but who's going to say that they're going to be good again next year? Say BYU has a freshman quarterback, and if LJ Martin stays, yes, I think BYU will be good again next year. But like it's a year-to-year basis with some of these Big 12 schools. But if you go to Hayes Fawcett's page, who's like the big like breaks every recruit's decision, he's like one of the biggest names from On3, I think he is. Like I can't even find Texas Tech on here right now. It's all the big teams that have been the traditional powers. And somebody tried to tell me this is the new age. Like it's not like those traditional teams, they don't matter anymore. That is not the case. Ohio State is still number one. You still have Georgia up there. You still have Alabama in the playoff. Like all the traditional teams are there. They're not going anywhere. And if you look at these recruiting pages, Alabama pops up. Ohio State just had one of their biggest weeks recruiting in the calendar year this past week. Like Michigan was still going to recruit with the best of them. I'm going to say this, like Virginia Tech from the ACC is about to out recruit any of those Big 12 teams. And they're already picking up recruits. I think Bruce Arians was on McAfee today, and he said, I think it slipped. They didn't want this to come out, but I think 5 recruits signed with Virginia Tech this past weekend from that visit. And then we just saw a running back from the Penn State. I hate that I'm using this word again, but the Penn State pipeline just signed with Virginia Tech, and that Sieg kid, that safety who's like a 95 overall on 24/7. He's making a decision on December 3rd, and a lot of people think he's going to Virginia Tech. Like, you're about to get smoked by the team from Blacksburg, who has been irrelevant ever since the Frank Beamer days. So I don't know what you want me to tell you. Like,
This brings so much joy to my heart.
It's this isn't a 80s hair band. Like, who cares about a one-hit wonder? Like, you're gonna go to the playoff and you're gonna get smacked around. And then, like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna cling on to the fact that your Texas Tech team won the Big 12 the entire season? Who cares? No one does.
No, I just being honest here, and you know what? I will say, Texas Tech specifically, because that seems to be the flagship that everyone, the Big 12 fans are hanging Texas Tech. You're getting out recruited, and you're like, you've had top 25 recruiting classes the last 2 years. You're getting out recruited by the schools in your state, and it's not close. A&M and Texas are cleaning up, like and the thing is that Texas Tech is new to the top 25, relatively speaking. It's still the same guys, the same teams in the top 10 year in and year out. If anything, the game stayed the same. Nothing's changed. The game stayed the same. The top 10 still top heavy, and it's always going to be that way. And I'm glad that they're having a great year and they get to have the conversation that they're up there, they're top 10, they're ranked, they're going to the playoff. I want to see what happens. Let's just say things stay the same today, where they play Tulane. We're going to hear it because they're going to light Tulane up.
Yeah.
They better hope. They better hope they light Tulane up.
They better hope they get Tulane in the first round.
Yeah,
But
because you know what? Like I said, we're gonna play it out. We'll stay the same. They're gonna light Tulane up. I'll give them that. What's gonna happen when you play Georgia? What's gonna be the excuse when Georgia hangs 50 on you, and you got nothing? Your defense can't stop nothing. Gunnar Stockton, who I know a lot of people are big on. I think he's a good football player. The guy's not a great passer of the football. What are you gonna do when he throws 5 touchdown passes on your defense?
Yeah.
Or what,
go on, Kev.
I was going to say, or what happens if one of the teams in the top 4? I mean, some of them are playing each other. They get a bye, and then their only game in the playoff is them getting a good ass
annihilated.
Yeah, I'm confident. I'm very confident, and I'm not big on this team, and they're undefeated. But I'm confident Marcel Reed and Texas A&M beats Texas Tech by 2 or 3 touchdowns. I really hope this happens. I hope we come to this, whatever you call it. Is it Selection Sunday or whatever, or I don't know what they call it for football, but I hope the committee sits down and they say, we cannot give Texas Tech this 5 versus 12 game We cannot give them Tulane versus Texas Tech. And I hope they swap Oregon and Texas Tech. I really hope Texas Tech has to face a team like Miami or Alabama.
I would just talking about it here, and I'll let Kevin go a little further. I would love to see Texas Tech, Oregon. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah.
I would love to see that because Oregon plays so fast, and they could speed it up. And I'm sorry, they will stretch Texas Tech so thin.
Well, you're not.
It's
You're
not
not
even
gonna
funny.
see that though, because like
You're not, but I mean, you can go down. Let's do it.
Lose again.
Well, technically, if Texas Tech, if the committee moves them up to 4, you could see them in the second round.
Yeah,
You could 100%. But like, you're looking at the playoff teams here, and I mean this. Like, I'll go a step further, and let's just pick another team, all right? What a realistic team that they can match up against. So it's shaping up to be Tulane, and that would be a gift for them because then they'll get their playoff win, and they'll say, "Oh, you know what? We did it, we won," and then they'll get bludgeoned. I would. There's no other team that and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Out of the rest, maybe Miami, I'll give them, but like, there's no other team outside of Miami and Tulane that I would pick Texas Tech to win against in the playoff. And I would let's like I said, let's keep things the way they are. Tulane. Texas Tech gets through Tulane. What's the spread on that Georgia game going to be?
A lot. I'm saying 2 to 3 touchdowns.
And I'm going to listen when we get to that point. If we get to that point, I'm going to hammer that.
Yeah. I also have another scenario I'm very upset about, and it's another fact that the college football committee has kind of shot themselves in the foot. And I was talking to you guys about this before we started recording. So right now, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lock that this happens because I don't imagine either team's going to lose this weekend. Right now, we're on pace for a Big 12 championship game. Love it, by the way, because it's a good matchup, but Texas Tech versus BYU's. So right now, the first team out is BYU. The second team out is Utah. BYU, there's a good chance BYU is going to lose to Texas Tech in that championship game because a lot of people in our comments actually made me start believing in Texas Tech a little bit, to the fact that I'm like, all right, maybe we give them a chance, see if they can make that run. I want to be respectful to these guys because they seem pretty passionate about their team. More power to you if you want to believe that Texas Tech has any type of chance of making a run to a title game. The only title game they're going to be playing in is the Big 12 championship. So big season for you guys. You won the Big 12 championship. Congrats. But as soon as you knock out BYU, you're now letting Utah into the playoffs. And the committee can't even say anything because, like, say one of the top 12 teams lose again and they fall out and Utah squeaks in, like, you did it to yourself. You have Utah as the second team out right now. BYU loses, you leapfrog BYU. How are we going to let Utah into the college football playoff? How are we going to have 2 Big 12 teams in the college football playoff? Like, I'm okay with having Texas Tech in there because, like,
they're undefeated. I'll give it to them. They're undefeated.
Yeah.
They're having a great season. They're
10
putting up a ton of points.
10-1. They're 10-1. They have a slip up against
Arizona
State.
Yep, I apologize. Yeah, but they're having a great season. They're putting up a ton of points. I got to look at that. I think they're one of the highest. Are they the highest scoring offense in college football right now?
Could be. Potential.
Either way, they're one of the highest scoring. But that just goes to show you they're not playing defense. They're not playing teams that play defense. What's going to happen the first time that they can't stretch somebody thin with the spread? Like, what's going to happen? TCU's going to happen. I'm going to have to watch. I can't remember the quarterback and I don't even care to. It's going to be like when I watch Max Duggan cry because he couldn't complete a pass against Georgia. Like, I'm listen, you guys are, there's the power 4 in football, and to this day there still is. But I'm sorry.
It's Baron Morton.
Baron Morton, yeah. I'm sorry that it's just you guys are not the power conference that you think you are or that you want to be. And there's a reason why teams leave your conference.
Yeah.
Like when Oklahoma was there and when Texas was with them, like it was different. It was a stout conference. But those teams left the first chance they got and they went to the SEC. What does that say about your conference?
Not for nothing. Morton did this last year. Like, why are you like? I'm impressed by what he's doing, but why are we amping him up like he hasn't done it before? Like, this is a surprise, and all of a sudden you have a quarterback. Like, you had a quarterback last year. The guy threw for 3,300 passing yards and 27 touchdown passes. So what really changed from last season? Your best defensive player is still Rodriguez. So I think
who's a stud? Who is a stud? I want to make that clear. He is a stud.
But like, you get what I'm saying. Like, they're just they're a veteran team in the Big 12, and that's why they're making their way through the Big 12 like this. But
Yeah,
what
I
happens
mean-
next year when Morton's gone, Rodriguez is gone, and everyone else on that team is gone? Texas
What
Tech-
happens when Texas Tech jumps ship and joins the Big Ten of the SEC? What's going to be their argument then?
Yeah, I would. If we posted,
and then ends up like Rutgers at the bottom of each of the division.
Yeah, right. I don't know, like why we got to take pot shots like that. I mean,
if we posted this, they would say that Texas Tech would be like the number 2 team behind Ohio State every year. That's what they would
Texas
say.
Tech they couldn't hang. I'm telling you, right? Actually, all right. So give me a team that's like. Hold on a minute. We're gonna do another exercise here. Let's add the Texas Tech team to the SEC or the Big Ten.
Can we do the SEC? Please do the SEC.
Sure.
Just make a point.
1 second. I want to get my list up here. We're gonna go down here.
This season, the SEC probably only had 4 bad teams, and everybody wanted to tell me that the SEC was a terrible conference in those comments. You could say Arkansas, Kentucky, probably Florida, even though they had a great defense, and South Carolina were bad teams this year.
I'm gonna be honest with you. So like based off, I'm gonna move past the top teams. So we're gonna go down. We're gonna exclude A&M, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt because I don't think if you played those teams every week, Texas Tech is not 10-1.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, they're not.
4 or 5 losses right there.
That's 4 or 5 losses. So I'm gonna start with LSU. In a head-to-head, do they beat LSU? Maybe. This season, maybe.
It depends.
Just because of the coaching.
Is Nussmeier the quarterback or not?
Well, in this situation, I'd say yes.
Okay. I think if Nussmeier's playing, I think they beat Texas Tech.
I'd probably agree. Missouri's
fully healthy LSU, yeah.
We're doing fully healthy teams. Missouri, fully healthy with Prabula at quarterback. I don't think they beat them. I don't think that Texas Tech could beat them.
I think that Missouri defense shuts down Texas Tech.
100%. One of the best defenses in the country. I'll give them Kentucky. I'll give them Florida this year. I'll even give them Auburn, Mississippi State, South Carolina, and Arkansas. They're all messes. They're the messes. Yeah. But I literally had to go down this list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 teams before I was comfortable saying that I think they can definitively beat this team. They don't play the brand of defense. And I don't know if listen, Texas fans in general, whatever it is, are a very passionate fan base. But I don't know if you understand the quality of defense played in the Big Ten and the SEC versus the quality of defense played in the Big 12. It's very wide open. It's very spread. It's hike, snap, throw to the wide open guy, first read. It's really not like that. There's a reason why there's pro style offenses are more common in the SEC than the Big Ten.
Also, if you had to, sorry, cutting in there, but if you had to think about the best coaches in America, the Big Ten and the SEC have it. So
it's not even close.
Yeah.
Why is the Big 12 so high scoring every week? It's because these guys come in and they just run rampant on offense. And I think some of these top tier head coaches that we see in the Big Ten, take for example, Lanning, who made Jaden Mayava look pretty average this past week, I would say. But that's because Lanning probably didn't leave the film room the entire week leading into this USC game. He made that game his life, and his team responds to the amount of energy that he brings to game week. So Lanning, to me, is, at this point, you have to say Lanning's probably one of the best coaches in college football. And every time there's a big game, Oregon steps up. They had a little bit of a slip up against Indiana, but I mean, that at the time, that Penn State game, a lot of people were with a first-year starter at quarterback, a whiteout, that just felt like it could have been a loss. And then this USC game, it was if USC could be in the playoff, people were saying, and Mayava, he's been great this season. Mayava looked average, and I think it's because you look at the Oregon defense, Kev, do they have anyone who's going to be a first day one talent?
They have a couple that could sneak at the end. Ulungale, I think.
Yeah.
They have a D tackle too that could slip in. Their strong safety too. Can never pronounce his name right. Theismann or something. He's probably early day 2 pick, but again, they're just a very good unit together that Lanning puts together, that they're playing for each other.
I would love to talk to that linebacker, by the way. I should reach out. Try to get him on the show. The baseball player.
That guy? Yeah.
But I want to bring up this fact too. Kevin, you probably know this better. So what's their tight end's name?
Kenyon Sadiq.
Yep, Kenyon Sadiq.
Yeah, Sadiq had probably one of his best games of the season, and there was a lot of controversy behind him. And I think McShay actually started it up.
Oh yeah,
Saying,
he is not big on Sadiq. He
yeah,
thinks that the people in Oregon are trying to get him out.
but he did say on his show this week, he's like, oh, maybe we motivated him to turn it around because I think the past 2 weeks he's been pretty solid. But they also
Yeah.
brought up so more their freshman receiver's been out for the past several weeks. Apparently they lost one or two guys during like summer ball, I think, or
Yeah.
leading up to the season. According to McShay, they're down like four of their top receivers, and
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible what they've been able to do. And like I didn't factor that in when I looked at Dante Moore a few weeks ago, because I'm sitting here, I'm like, he's with Dan Lanning. Oregon always has this high power offense. Like he should really just be putting up like video game numbers every week. Did not know he was missing this entire season 4 targets like that, and that
Yeah. I mean,
his tight end wasn't playing up to like people had Sadiq at like Colston Loveland, Tyler Warren level before the season started.
yeah. I mean, I think. Yeah, I was listening during the game. I think we were down to like the fourth or fifth option of our wide receivers. We were playing true freshmen that probably wouldn't have seen the field if there wasn't any injuries. So, I mean, you got to have the chemistry with those guys. So, the fact that they're coming in and still able to run the routes and everything. So, it is just a lot of chemistry that might be missing for more. That's why he kind of maybe lost the Indiana game. But yeah, if you're missing out on more, you're missing out. I think Weathers was the other guy that they lost in the spring.
Also, I think we put too much on that Indiana loss because that game was a dogfight. I
It
just
was
want
a
to make
big
that
dog.
clear. That
I
was a
mean,
dogfight both ways.
they were in it till like I want to say the third or fourth quarter. I think it was
Yeah.
one score game.
Yeah, so I think we put a lot of weight on losses, and I think that's one loss where I think we all need to step back and
Yeah.
realize that this was two of the top teams in the country fighting.
Yeah.
I'll go one step further. I think if Oregon met Indiana in the playoff, I might give Oregon the upper hand at this point.
I would love to see the matchup again.
Yeah. It'd be a good,
Like,
good one to watch.
how hard would it be to beat a Dan Lanning group 2 times in a season? It just doesn't happen probably.
I got to be honest, I'm not a big Oregon fan, but I would love for Lanning to rip off a couple national titles because I think he's that good a coach, and I'd love for him to be in that conversation.
Yeah.
I would love to see the post-game interview after he won
I
the
was-
national title.
But being honest here, a Kurt Signetti post-game national championship
that's
interview would be pretty freaking funny.
I just want to see.
I don't think he'd care one bit.
Just give me the pregame speech. God.
Man, Harbaugh should have stayed in the Big Ten. I wish he wasn't getting a show clause because like we need all the characters in the Big Ten.
Dude, it is like I said. I know a lot of people don't like Kurt Signetti. I think Steve, you're one of them. Is not a big fan of. I love him. Everything about him.
I like
He
Signetti.
is.
I don't hate Signetti.
Dude, he is so and you know what? I'm gonna go a step further. Mendoza fits him because they're both so weird and
They
so
are very-
awkward, but they
Yeah.
go hand in hand. But you can't take anything away from that guy as a coach. I mean, what he's done with Indiana in 2 seasons, 3, whatever it's been, like he is so interesting. We should try and get him.
Mendoza's just polar opposite of him, like awkward and
But they're both just weird. They're just weird people.
You know why I like Signetti? Signetti is the Dan Hurley of college football. And
Yeah, I can see that.
so I'll take you back to the very beginning. So Dugan and I did this podcast in the beginning, and it was mostly like an NFL talk podcast, I would say. And we didn't take it too seriously. We would record, we'd put it out there, and that's the last of the recording. March Madness came around one year, and this was like one of the first or second. I think it was the first national championship Connecticut won because they won back to back. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching Hurley on the sideline, and I didn't really watch much of Hurley. I knew he was a Jersey guy. I liked him for that reason, but he's every single play he's just like bugging out over, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like this sucks. Like, why is he doing this? Pestering officials like this. But the more I watched Hurley, and then the second season came around, I was like, I just love his fire. Actually, I changed my tune so quick on Hurley, and like he was so uncensored during the post game interviews and said what he was thinking, and he would go after the fans whenever they did some corny stuff to him. And I love that he didn't back down from anybody. And now I'm like one of the biggest Dan Hurley fans out there, and that's why like I don't mind Signetti, because he reminds me a lot of Dan Hurley at this point.
I'm not gonna lie, like there's times where like I'm obviously big on the NFL draft, and like I like to watch clips of players, and like I'll be watching something about Mendoza as a Jet fan, got to get comfortable with it, and then all of a sudden it'll be like Kurt Signetti highlights, and it's just like his post game, his pre-game, him during the game, and they're so funny. And like I'll get lost for like 40 minutes just watching him just be himself, and it's so funny. But the dude's an outstanding coach, and I'm gonna go a step further. I mean, his coaching resume like is outstanding. Everywhere he's been, he's turned around.
Damn
So
Dukes.
seriously, and then even then, like I mean, when he took his job outside of Alabama, mind you, I think that staff with Alabama was like it was him. The coaches on Saban's staff in 2007 to 2010 is insanity.
Oh yeah.
And the man took a job at IUP, who was like a losing program. I don't even know who IUP was. And he turns him into a winner. And he's done that everywhere he's been. And I think that's how he is. But I like Signetti a lot. I like Lanning a lot. I want to see these guys just, go at it again. And I'd love to see them. Like,
It would be a fun match to watch again.
Yeah. Listen, you know what? Maybe we get them. Maybe Texas Tech plays one of them.
Well,
We can guarantee it.
We know that Signetti and Lanning are guys that make their team their life. And we know the sacrifices that in order to be a very good college football coach, like during the season and even during the off season, you're probably not with your family too much.
No. This is your family.
Yeah. It's just a shock that some of these guys like Saban do it for so long. I'm so happy that Saban has found happiness in retirement with College Game Day. Truly, like, you see a side of Saban that you did not see when he was coaching. He was always so serious.
No.
He had that Bill Belichick approach. Now he's like joking with the boys and stuff, so that's great. But
yeah, my favorite comment from Saban this year was his one on saying, where he's like, "Yeah, some dumb coach kept him on the scout team for a year." It's like so funny. He's making fun of himself. It's just good dude in general. But
Ohio State KO'd. People want to say the Michigan Rose Bowl game, but the fact that Ohio State stole Caleb Downs insane from him, it's like, geez, like look at this team now,
dude. It's insanity. But yeah, let's
do picks. I wanted to talk Georgia and Oklahoma, but I feel like we've talked about them a lot over the past few weeks. They to me they are like, if anyone's going to compete with Ohio State, in my opinion, those two teams at this point are the teams that could do it, especially Georgia, in my opinion. We have to see if Oklahoma can get healthy, because they've had injuries, but that defense is so strong. But let's go into picks. Let's go down the list. There's quite a few games. Like, what do we want to start with? We want to do Texas A&M, Texas, because I don't know. Like, who knows? Maybe Texas ruins a little bit of Texas A&M's momentum.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good starting point, because I think I'm going to go against the grain on this one. So Arch Manning's looked a lot better. I've been a big critic. He's looked a lot better over the last couple weeks. Seeing how A&M played, and I know it was a great comeback against South Carolina. This Texas defense is one of the best in the country. Incredible to watch play. I don't think they're, and to be fair, it's a pick'em game anyway, so they're not even favoring A&M. I do think Texas wins this game. I think that it's going to be a very, very, very defensive heavy game. But Arch Manning's looked really good. Texas, to me, has the better weapons. I think Texas pulls this game out, wins this game outright.
Yeah, I think Texas. I mean, A&M against South Carolina.
It really turned my stomach. Yeah.
Really. I mean, you were down 28-0, or down 28 big.
28-3, I think. But yeah.
And Arch is playing better. The defense for Texas. I mean, you got Anthony Hill Jr. is a stud at linebacker.
They held Ohio State to 14 points. Let's give them their credit.
On Texas. That white safety they have.
I don't know.
I just know Anthony Hill. He's an absolute monster. He'll be fighting that whole game. So yeah. I think Texas. I think Arch finds a way to I think he's going to get a big rushing touchdown at one point during the game. So I'm going to take Texas, dude.
I'm with you guys, but I'm skeptical to do it because I really wanted to go with Pitt last week, and you guys changed my mind really quick, and it turned into a Georgia Tech pick for me. And I wish I'd stuck with my initial, because like going into the episode, even I was thinking about like Pitt and like how they didn't really care about the Miami game, and I was like, not the Miami game, the the Notre Dame game, and they were really thinking about Georgia Tech and Miami to close out the season because they still had a shot at the ACC title. But that's behind us now. Like, well, now we're looking at this in-state Texas clash, and I'll bring up a few points. Texas is home for this one. The home crowd. It's the same thing as like what we talked about with Michigan. Like, I guarantee you, this Texas stadium is going to be full of orange and white. It's going to be a big home game for the Longhorns. They show up regardless of how this team is doing, and they're still 8-3. I think there's still like minor hope, and I put emphasis on minor, that they can sneak into a college football playoff this season. I don't really see it happening with 3 losses.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
But the thing is, like, Arch Manning in the beginning of the season, he just looked for his big target and threw to like one guy when desperation settled in. But now he's like actually really turning into an actual like college legit quarterback, you know, where if his first targets or option is not open, he's checking down to a second or third. And he's using, like, if you look at the box score, he's using everybody. Like, he's going to the running backs. He's using his tight ends. He's using all his wide receivers. So everyone's getting involved, and that's a sign of a very good quarterback, in my opinion. So at this point, like it's starting to turn into, we're not just throwing Arch Manning into NFL draft conversations because of his name anymore. It's starting to turn into, okay, now his play is starting to back it up. I think he threw for 341 yards last week or something like that. So I truly believe, and I've been waiting for a Texas A&M slip-up game, and it sucks that it might come at the very last game of the season, but I think this could be it here.
So what are we going to go with next on this one? I'm going to let you lead for the picks here.
Do we want to do Georgia Tech? Because
I'm going to move past that one now.
Yeah. We could do Miami versus Pittsburgh. That has playoff implications just because of Miami. If they lose it on the road, they're done.
I think that's a good game to start with, or to go second here. Miami, I do think that Carson Beck is orchestrating. You know, he does what he does. He's got the experience. He knows the game's big. I think that Miami pulls this game out. But Pittsburgh, I got to be honest, is a lot better team than I thought. You know, they're a gritty team. I didn't really believe in the quarterback, and his name slipped in my mind. You brought it up last week that he's good for. I didn't really. He didn't have the stats to really back it up, but the guy can play. I give him that. However, with this, I think Miami's defense is out of this world. Well, they're a really good defense. Not gonna say out of this world. They've slowed down a bit for me. I think Ruben Bain's a little bit overrated, but knowing who their quarterback is, knowing his experience, knowing what he knows what it takes to win, I think Beck leads them to a win here. I don't see it being an issue. I think Miami does get in the playoff, and I think the playoffs are better for it. So I'm going to go with Miami in this game. I'm not going to say, handedly or anything like that. It bites me in the ass every time I do it. Miami outright wins this game, and it's going to be because of Carson Beck.
Yeah, I agree. He's played in national championship games. He's been there before, so he's been under the harsh criticism and everything. So I think that alone, is going to push them. But I do think the defense is the Miami defense a lot better than the Georgia Tech defense that the freshman quarterback saw last week. I mean, I feel like his stats will probably go a little down, and it's just going to be hard for Pittsburgh to get this win. Yeah. I think it's going to be close, but I think still Miami's going to win by like maybe 5 or 6.
Yeah, this is a Miami team who beat Notre Dame, and that was week 1, so you can't really compare the teams at this point. But Notre Dame came in and thumped Pittsburgh at home, and I know with the previous pick, I was like, Texas home, like that's an actual home atmosphere. Pittsburgh plays at an NFL stadium. Sometimes those schools that have to travel to NFL stadiums just don't get the crowds that's the teams that have stadiums on campuses get. I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that, but my point of this is that this is a much different game than Georgia Tech. Really, Georgia Tech, to me, this entire season has been the Haynes King show. I did not think the overall roster was a playoff roster. I was sitting there kind of hopeful that like maybe Haynes King wills them into the playoffs because, he gets comparisons to Tim Tebow from McShay. But didn't happen. They seem to be out. We're not even talking about their Georgia matchup anymore, which if they won last week, that would be probably center of our conversation right now. But in the sake of this game, like how often do you get like second chances, man? Like Miami had such a great start to their season. For a while, we were talking about if anyone's going to compete with Ohio State, it was Miami. They were number 2 at one point, I think. and then they lose 2 games, and then you're sitting there and you're like, there's no way they get back into the college football playoff chance. Well, here it is. They have a lifeline. They have a chance to get into the college football playoff. And if they beat Pittsburgh this weekend, most likely they're in. So I don't think they're going to slip up here. I think they are very aware of what's happening. I think they're very this is a team that just missed the college football playoff last season, and that was with Cam Ward. And you wasted a Cam Ward season, an excellent Cam Ward season. I don't think they're going to waste the season again. I think they're going to find a way to get into the college football playoff.
And they got the kid to do it. Carson Beck, he's battle tested.
Yeah.
I go back and forth on whether I like him or not, but the kid's battle tested. I think we could either do
Vandy,
a Big 12 matchup if you want, or we could just get right to the one that matters the most.
Let's do Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I think that's a big one.
14.
Oh, I was saying we could have picked Arizona State because I didn't want to leave the Big 12 people out.
Not Arizona State without a quarterback.
I think he might be playing from what I heard, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Is he out for the season?
I thought he was, but I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Let's just skip it.
Yeah,
we don't have any Big 12 fans anyway. Skip it.
We made enough enemies. Vanderbilt, Tennessee. I think actually, according to the spread, Tennessee's favored in this game.
Yeah, by 3.
So I think this is worth talking about because Vanderbilt could find a way to slip into the playoffs if they win this game. So
yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never been the biggest believer in Pavia, but the guy just finds a way. I'm not really a big fan of his attitude and the way he carries on and the things he says, but the guy's a winner. He's got a chip on his shoulder, a massive chip at that, and he finds a way to pull it out. Tennessee with Aguilar, though, does have an identity. Tennessee is a college football tested team, even if it is with a new quarterback. I'm going to say that Pavia has another defining moment this week, finds a way to pull it out against Tennessee, upsets a lot of SEC fans with his antics that he does. But I think they find a way into the college football playoff somehow. And I think the college football playoff's better for it. I'm going to go Pavia wins this one and then cements himself as a finalist for the Heisman Award. Not a winner, but a finalist.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go with Pavia too. It's Pav Nation. Gotta represent that.
Yeah, your section of the country is the only section that likes him.
Big Pav. But yeah, I mean, he's shown that he can play big
Pavia, if you want to come on our podcast, I'll take that back. I'll apologize to you, and I'll help you with Tate McRae. I'll say, hey, Tate,
come on down. But yeah, Pavia has shown that he can play in the big moments. Tennessee, I feel like in their moments that they could have won this year and got themselves into the playoff contention, they fell pretty short. So I just think Pavia just takes them over the edge. I think it'll be close, but
kid's a winner.
He is a
Yeah. I really, really hope that the college football, whoever makes these decisions, can find a way to give, maybe not Pavia, but like a guy like Joey Aguilar, who, started 2 seasons at Appalachian State and finally is getting an opportunity to start at a big school like Tennessee and has proved his worth. He's already thrown for 3,145 yards. That's unreal. And 23 touchdown passes. Like, imagine what another year could do for Joey Aguilar. It would really be cool to see. And I think he would have that Tennessee team another season. I think he gets them in the playoff conversation because he was pretty damn close this year. But, I mean, where Joey Aguilar would be next season is where Diago Pavia is this season. And if the football gods are looking down and they want the perfect script moving forward and they want the best ratings for this college football playoff, you're putting a personality like Diego Pavia in, and you're putting a team. You want to talk about Texas Tech and how like you want new teams in the playoff. How about we give a battle-tested team like Vanderbilt a chance? Let's get them in because they play in the SEC. It's a gauntlet every week in the SEC. I don't even care if you're playing Florida. I've said it plenty of times. Florida has a fantastic defense. You can lose any week in the SEC. And that's why this is like such a tough game because like it's a rival game, in-state rival, and they're on the road and it feels like they're not even the favorites in this game. It feels like a lot can go against Vanderbilt, but
I feel like they're a very disrespected team all throughout the year.
Hey, you also might get Tate McRae in the stands. So.
I doubt it. I doubt it. Listen, and the important thing is it's not Big 12 football. It's just solid SEC real football. All right, let's jump ahead and let's close this out with the one that matters the most here. All right, so Ohio State, Michigan. I'm going to have Steve go last because I know he's going to give a very thorough explanation. And I think that's required on this, and he's got more of an insight as to the ins and outs of this as it pertains to him. I'll lead off. Ohio State, Michigan. I think, like I said, this comes down to the Ohio State passing attack. Do they continue to do what they've done with the likeliness of Jeremiah Smith winning? And it would be nice to get Carnell Tate out there for this game, just because you want these guys to play before we get to the playoff. And not to mention how much this game means to both schools. The adversity, this is, if you could win in this situation, you could win in any situation, and that's the God's honest truth. This game's going to be heated. They're going to need all their weapons out there. I do think Ohio State pulls this out. I don't think the rankings matter at all, though. I think it's going to be a tighter game than people think. I do not think it'll be a 13, whatever it was last year. I think we get a full game here. I think both defenses show up. I think that the difference maker is going to be Sain's connection to Smith. Because like I said, is likely to play. And I also think that if, Michigan does find a way to slow down that passing attack, you still got to worry about Bo Jackson inside. I think it's going to end in a tighter game than we expect, but I do think Ohio State wins.
Yeah, I mean, going off that too, I feel like the weather could play a big factor in that too. Steve, I think earlier said that there's an 80% chance of snow. That could take the air out of the ball, but I mean, there's also sometimes where if you take the air out of the ball, tight end's wide open and they're stacking the box and you can slip a tight end out, and Ohio State has one of the better tight ends in the country right now. So and their defense is very good as well. So I think it's a very close match if it does snow. I think Michigan might even be able to take it from them if it does snow and if how bad it is. But I still think that Ohio State wins by a slight margin.
So I would really like to be like a Dave Portnoy type, Taylor Lewan even from Bussin' with the Boys, where this week, they're going to come out and they're going to say, oh, Michigan's going to shove it down Ohio State's throat. And that's my fandom wishful thinking is Michigan comes out and they just run the ball the entire time, control the clock, and they win this game. They win a close one. But I have so much post-traumatic stress from the 2000s where Michigan just couldn't get it done year in and year out that I haven't believed that Michigan could win this game for probably 20 plus years now. Even during this 4-year run where Michigan has won, there hasn't been a single year, even the year that they won the national title, there hasn't been a single year I went into this game and said, Michigan's going to get it done today. I think they came out and they outcoached them and they were way more physical. And it's the keys that we've been talking about the entire time that they have to do. But I don't think Ryan Day's dumb enough to come out and have the same, he's known, at this point, he's known as one of the better college coaches for a reason. He won a national title. I think he actually kind of recognized his identity after he lost to Michigan last year because they just came out and thumped everyone afterwards. It wasn't even close. So, and that kind of worries me because this entire season's been like that. If I'm going to be truthful with you, outside of the Texas game, and that's the one glimmering hope you have from this season is Texas played them tough, and I think Michigan could probably stick around with Texas. So and that was on the road for Texas. So maybe Michigan has better fortunes at home. I don't know if I see it. This is a different story. Chip Kelly was the offensive coordinator last year, and Chip Kelly is out of a job in the NFL at this point. So how much did he influence Ryan Day's decision-making last year on the offensive side of the ball? Matt Patricia has since taken over as the defensive coordinator, and I thought last year's defense was excellent. This defense is just one of the better units I've seen in my lifetime, maybe. There's just so much change. I really think Brian Hartline's going to eventually become a head coach in Division I football. He just needs the right opportunity. He just what he's done with the wide receivers and now his first year as an offensive coordinator and a play caller, it's been pretty impressive. I could see this game being you have 8 minutes left. It's 27-21 Ohio State. Michigan gets the ball back and Michigan just makes a brutal mistake. Ohio State capitalizes on it. They end up losing 34-21 or something like that. I think it will be close the entire game. I don't know. Hate to say I'm with you guys, but the writing on the wall, it just says Ohio State this season. It's just you really have to question Ryan Day and how much he wants to win this game. if he doesn't get it done this year, because it was such a poor game last season. And then then they planted the flag on their logo, and then there's clips of Ryan Day sitting there like he's like in shock. He's not even moving, and his players are yelling, and like coaches are restraining them, and he's like just sitting there taking it all in. And I couldn't believe there was such a bad day in Ohio State history last season. Is that was a Michigan team they should have murdered. I think this year, yeah, I just think they're on a crash course. I don't really know who can stick around with Ohio State this season, to be honest. But yeah, I'm picking Ohio State.
Yeah, this team with Sayin is a different beast. I don't want to say he's the best quarterback Ohio State's had, but I mean he's pretty. He's a stud, and it's scary good. But if we come next week and we talk about this game again, and Michigan has found a way to eke it out, I'm probably not going to be floored. I'm not. This is the most heated game, and but I also do have some fears that sportsmanship's going to go out the window, and if Ohio State jumps out quick, something tells me they're not going to let up, which is not going to be good either. So
I also wonder how much the Big Ten wants another team to get in or something. You know, maybe there's some under the wraps negotiation going on.
I think Ryan Day cares way. I think this is his national championship before the national championship.
Well, he wants to get to Indianapolis, but think about it this way. So I was wrong last week. Michigan does not automatically get to the Big Ten championship game. It would actually be Oregon versus Indiana if Michigan wins this week. So
I'll pass on that.
Yeah, you don't want that. But Ohio State falls back a few spots. You could possibly be looking at a round one Michigan versus Ohio State game, a rematch. That right there is theater, in my opinion. Now you're at Ohio State Stadium, the shoe. That would be wild, that turnaround right there. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Just to add for our Big Ten people, that my prediction is if Michigan finds a way to win this game, and Indiana, and Ohio State, whatever. If Ohio State falls to 4, or I think that would put them in the spot to play Texas Tech. The Texas Tech fans' national championship is that Tulane game because it's over. It's over the next week. Ohio State's going to throw so many points on them, it's not even going to be funny.
Oh, yeah.
So all the people of Texas Tech should really be begging Ohio State to pull this one out. And I don't, I think they get it done. But I think that I'm excited for it. Can't wait. Maybe, just saying, maybe we've been talking about it. This might be the game that we live stream this one.
Could be. If you want like the most tense and stressed out person in the world, I'll talk to you guys about this off air. But Allie proposed a in-person thing, but Kevin, that's literally impossible for you.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Although to be fair, I hosted a party this summer. Kevin randomly showed up for us.
I did. But that was kind of somewhat planned. So.
But yeah, like Mike said, wouldn't be surprised if it went either way. Last year was the biggest surprise of them all. So if the Vegas line is a lot smaller this season, and it's at -9.5. So
yeah, I think it's 10 right now. I think it's either way. It's slighter than you would expect for this game.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens. That's a wrap. Pretty good episode. A lot longer than we wanted it to be, but that's okay. A lot of valuable talking points. It always seems to go in that direction.
Yeah, you get us going on the Big 12.
The Big 12 conversation comes up, and it's
I can't wait. Can't wait for them to all be back in the comments this week.
I texted them beforehand. I said somebody needs to make a controversial take. So hopefully there was plenty of them during our Big 12 talk. I will throw this out there. Whoever's made it this far, and we're about an hour and a half in, I have to market us. So give us a follow, subscribe, join the conversation. It's pretty active on TikTok, so that's fun.
And we love the feedback, good or bad. We love it. Yeah. So please keep coming. We're all checking it. We all read it. Steve does a lot of the responses, but it's all a joint effort. We love it. Good, bad, and different. Call us idiots. Tell us we're smart. Let's just keep it appropriate. Keep it professional. I'm respectful, but we love the feedbacks, and it's fun. So please keep it coming.
I want to start responding with like Napoleon Dynamite.
I didn't think that our Big 12 banter was going to take off the way it did, but listen, I commend it's mostly Texas Tech fans. I commend them. They support their team, and it's good to see, and it's fun to see, and it'll be great to add them to the SEC or the Big 10 once they realize that they have value, and it'll be good.
Instead of crab cakes in football, what is it, cattle in football?
I guess. I'm just, listen, if they want to come be a middle tier team with the rest of us, like at Rutgers, come on over.
I was pitching for you to be our under further review,
Texas Tech
mandatory
fan?
Texas Tech fan.
Yeah. I respectfully declined, with maybe some lying on the respectful part.
No respect when it comes to war, love and war, and that's
Exactly.
what Big 12 conversations are.
And in all fairness, to answer that question, if I was to leave my Rutgers fandom, I made it very clear. I'm picking a team that has a national title hopes, wins it, so probably be an Ohio State fan.
Oh my god, I would
No,
end
don't do
this
that.
podcast.
No.
No, in all seriousness, I thought of this. I really did think about this week. Is if I stopped watching all my teams, what would I root for now? And I've come to this conclusion. I probably would go to Virginia Tech because I really like James Franklin over there. I probably would go that way. And for
You
football,
have,
I'd
like,
become a
the-
Ravens fan in the NFL.
I mean, it makes sense.
I did think about this.
They're pretty close in like proximity.
Yep, I did think about that. I was like, you know what? If I was going to leave my teams, what was I going to do? Baseball, I'd stop watching. Hockey, I'd probably stop watching. Basketball, I would definitely stop watching. But football, NFL would be the Ravens, and then I'd have Virginia Tech.
Or if you just gave up sports altogether, you probably live like an extra 10 years.
Yeah, but it'd be a really what am I going to do? Crochet? Crochet Big 12 blankets for people?
Sit on your porch, on your rocker, drink some whiskey, and just enjoy life.
Yeah, that sounds so exhilarating.
All right, let's wrap this
All right,
up.
everybody, have a good night. Remember to drop those follows, comments, subscribe, everything. We appreciate it. Truthfully, please continue the feedback. We want more. We want to have more fun, and maybe we could have some more conversations in more ways as we grow.
Mike said it. See you next week.